got the northern lights. Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo, because I am bold, black, and addicted to Bravo. My name's Nyemade, or that African butterfly, on social media, and I'm excited to bring you another episode. I have some great guests as always, but I'm really excited about these three ladies because they are a fun and a blast to talk to. And it's going to be even more fun with our topic today, which I'll tell you in a minute. But first, let me have everybody introduce themselves and tell people a little bit about you and where they can find you. I'll go ahead and start with Jenny.
Hi, I am Jenny Blaze of Bravo and Blaze. You can find me on all social media. I'm also Cannabis Mom Boss, or you can find me on Instagram as the Cannabis Mom Boss. And I am a cannabis advocate, a mom, and a boss.
All of those things. Nela?
Hi, my name is Nela. I have an Instagram account called Fix My Life Podcast, where I turn a couple of tarot cards every week and I tell people how to fix their lives because I'm a bossy big sister and that's my favorite thing. In my real life, I'm a business consultant to small businesses of up to $3 million wanting to push over to their next strategic goals. So I love doing that. I'm out here in the Bay Area, available for Zoom and in-person consultations. And I smoke hella weed because I live in the Bay, bitch.
That's right.
Yes.
Love
And then
that.
Shannon.
Hi, I am Shannon, at everything's hunky dory _. Just a mom who loves weed because alcohol makes you fat and depressed. So, and it ages you, and
And it ruins lives.
It's definitely a downer.
Yeah, it's just like, look, don't get me wrong. I love tequila and I love a vodka every now and again, but I don't really keep it in my house anymore. And if I do, it lasts forever because I'm not a big at-home drinker. But if I'm at a restaurant, am I ordering a skinny Patron margarita? Yep. Or like a Grey Goose Bloody Mary. Yeah, sure. But at home, I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Skinny girl?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. That ship sailed, honey. I don't know what
we can't even get into it. We'll be on the it's like a whole separate
what a mess.
Episode.
Not today, Satan.
Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. And if you guys can't tell by now, our topic is 420 or the devil's lettuce or MaryJane or whatever you would like to call it. The episode is called Is MaryJane the Best Housewife? Because we have noticed that they are talking about it on Housewives more, which I am a huge fan of. There's such a stigma around it. And on one level, I get it because it was illegal and people are like, oh, illegal things. But as far as what we were just saying, the usage and the side effects of it versus alcohol is significantly less as far as the negatives in comparison. And part of the stigma around it is because most people don't talk about it. The people who do feel comfortable talking about it are either celebs sometimes, or people think of like the local stoners in town, but nobody's telling you that all the parents and all the people with jobs and functioning lives, they're all secretly doing it too.
High as fuck all day, all day.
Dr. Contessa told me that her doctor friends, they all consume.
Yeah, my psychiatrist, same with him. Like they use the delivery service that the dispensary offers. It's like an upcharge. Yeah, but I'm sure they have it in California.
Yeah. Like there's like weed shops on every corner. There really are weed shops on every corner. People will deliver. I mean, I myself still have my same delivery guy I've had for the last 13 years. But yeah,
supporting small business.
Always supporting
small business.
Industries.
Yes. I love that it's so like used openly in California that it's called California sober. Like nobody really includes
the first
that
time I heard that, I was like, what the fuck is
same
that?
I was like, what?
And I don't like to call it sober because only because I know how hard people who work for their sobriety and to be in that place of peace with not being tempted by things. And I don't want to like diminish the accomplishments they have, because I know a lot of people alcohol, weed, whatever else you want to ingest, they're not all that different to some people, because addiction is addiction. You either
Yes.
you go from one thing or another. So on the one hand, it was like, ooh, because I think that's going to give a lot of people a lot of outs
Yeah.
to just cover one addiction with another, as we saw with James Kennedy. It's like he gave up alcohol, but he didn't stop smoking weed, and not for the better for him, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I do like that anybody talks good about California all the time, but
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to talk about James Kennedy as well. And, just I guess I should have done a disclaimer in the beginning of it, because it is, you're right. There are still people who are addicted to it, who do have negative side effects to it. Nothing out there is perfect or great. And
nothing.
if you are suffering from substance addiction, definitely seek help. And you're not weak or anything for not being able to stay sober, even if everyone jokingly jokes about it, because it's not as bad as alcoholic addiction is addiction, like Nela said.
Yeah.
And I love that, like I said, I love that it's a topic that's talked about more openly. So like, before we get into the housewives, let's talk about, the head man in charge, the one who, by the way, I feel like was one of the first people I really saw openly talk about his usage of it, which is Mr. Andy Cohen, executive producer. He from Watch What Happens Live from the beginning would talk about it. I remember at first I'm like, oh, he's really mentioning that, but now it's like, oh, whatever. We all know Andy smokes. Did that kind of have an impact on you guys, or how do you feel when you hear people talk about using it like professionals?
Good. Finally, stop lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy's actually the reason, I mean, it was like my number one inspiration for Bravo and Blaze, because I was already on social media as a cannabis advocate and mother, trying to break the stigma and, modernize the perception of today's cannabis consumer. And I remember just seeing Andy wearing, like, it was a really expensive sweater. I even DM'd him and was like, where'd you get that sweater? I looked it up. It was like a $500 sweater, but it had a huge pot leaf on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Jenny Blaze. This is Bravo and Blaze. Like, it has a double entendre. It makes sense. Like, let's do this. And that's how
It was meant to
for
be.
me.
Yeah.
We had an inkling, because he's such a huge deadhead. I kind of knew.
Well, and his eyes
kinda knew.
are always glassy. He's got all the classic
He has a
telltale
complex.
signs. Yeah,
He has
like
complex about his eye.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the wonky eye. I'm talking about just glassy. Like I just smoked a shit ton
But
of
the
weed.
wonky eye gets a little wonky.
It gets a
'Cause
little
I have
sleepier.
a wonky eye too, so I'm always trying to
When I'm
be on
super
many
high, my right eye will get extra droopy, and that's how people know they're like, "Girl, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm so good, I'm so good."
See,
I
I
think
feel I look like that when I'm drunk. Like, my eyes are just I definitely look like a monster.
Yeah. I get real red. My eyes get real red, which is how I can tell. And it'll be bad because sometimes I'll, partake and then be like, okay, I'm going to do a bunch of reels, and it's great, it's fun. But then I'm looking at all of them. I'm like, oh my God,
You're like,
my eyes are so
Maybe you
red in
should
all
lean
of
in.
these.
Well, maybe you should lean into it. I know
Yeah.
a girl who that's her thing. She's always her whole account, and she's blown up on TikTok. She's making money.
Yeah.
It's
That's
not
what
the
are
one
really
that
doing
cooks
it
out
on
of a
TikTok.
refrigerator high, is it?
What's that?
There's this girl out of LA, and she's actually really good, and she cooks while she's high.
No,
And
this is a
yeah,
different girl.
No, but I
No,
mean, I love that, because I really, really do think so many more people do it than talk about it. And I think if we would all talk about the fact that everyone does it, then we would all stop being, and it's so crazy because people are so judgmental about it. But if you knew that almost everyone around you does it, I think they would stop the judgment. But because the ones who are judgmental about it are so vocal about being judgmental, that everybody else doesn't want to acknowledge that, yep, I go home and I do it too, but they do.
Can I just say,
those haters?
okay.
Fuck those haters. We don't need to hang out with them.
Right.
At the end,
I
I mean, and like you said, it is different out here, because I've been smoking. I actually started smoking when I was 25. I remember the very first night I was with my roommate Hector, and we were watching Murphy Brown, and he had gotten some shit off of his one one of his coworkers.
Not Murphy Brown.
It was Murphy Brown. It was a rerun. And we were sitting there and we were smoking, and I'm
Murphy
like, I
Brown.
don't fucking feel anything. And all of a sudden he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, Murphy. And I was laughed for an hour and I've never looked back. It was the best thing that
Mhm.
ever happened.
I was
Murphy
in my
Brown.
mid-20s as well, my first time. Well, I had tried it like once in high school, and honestly, it didn't really do anything for me. And because I'd also grown up so conservative, I'm like, I'm not going to do this thing that's bad just because everyone else is doing it if it doesn't do anything for me. So I was like, forget it.
Yeah.
But then later in like my early 20s, I tried it with some friends, and they must have had the good stuff because it worked. And it was amazing. I just remember that I loved that I felt good, but I still felt in control of myself. Because what I always hated, I'm kind of a control freak. So what I always hated about alcohol was losing that control. But I felt it was like kind of like an out of body experience, but I still felt like I was in control of myself. And then even better, the next day I felt perfectly fine. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm never drinking again, which isn't true, I still drink. But I definitely switched over from there. But I do think it also, the age that you start makes a difference as well, because your brain is still developing young. Like I wouldn't necessarily encourage teenagers or anything like that to start, because your brain is still in developmental mode and all of those things. But definitely like early 20s, I'm all for whatever. Shannon and Jenny, when did you guys, like, when was your first time?
I was 13.
Okay.
So I was very young.
So that's why your brain is like that. Just
That's why my, like Lisa Barlow says, that's why my brain works so fast. My brain works
That's
fast.
so fast.
So
Yeah.
it works so fast.
I'm just kidding about Shannon. She's very,
no.
very smart.
Some
She
of the
is.
time. So it depends. It depends on the topic. But thank you. No, I started when I was 13. I was behind the shopping center, like where the dumpsters are, with my friends, smoking like the nastiest weed ever. I just remember thinking it was disgusting, but I was high as fuck and I loved it. And I was a subscriber immediately and never canceled my subscription. I mean, obviously, during my pregnancy, I did not partake. And I know there are some moms who do, and no judgment, but for me, it just wasn't, I'm paranoid as fuck. Like Marianella, that Virgo overthinking lifestyle, like it's too much. So
It is
13 for me. And Jenny, you're like the same, aren't you? Didn't you start super young?
I did. I started like as a rebel and like recreationally when I was a teenager. But then I also like, at the time, I didn't know that I was doing this, but I was using it medicinally. But in my mind, I didn't even know there was such a thing as using medical marijuana. And so in the beginning, it was just recreational in my mind, even though I was medicating with it. And then I took a break for a long time after when I got pregnant with my first child. And then I had a blended family situation. So custody was always an issue for me that I worried about. So I didn't even think about using it recreationally for like years and years. And it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years ago, is before my second child, I was at a place where I was taking like so many prescription medications. I had a drinking problem. I was super depressed. And this is after I had gone through my own like nutrition education and like 200-hour yoga teacher training. I had all the information and knowledge to be a healthy person, but found myself unhealthy and unhappy. So I started to just like break things down. And it was a friend of mine who reminded me like, hey, some of the things you're talking about that's at the root of your problems, people use medical marijuana for that. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And
I remember,
I just started like microdosing, which they talk about on Real Housewives of OC. But I learned about microdosing before it was on, Real Housewives of OC.
Can you explain what microdosing is for those who may not know?
Yeah, definitely. So what I did and what I learned was that you can not smoke a whole blunt and like get benefits
Can you?
Or like, you
Sometimes, though,
don't
can
have
you?
to take huge bong rips. And I was like, okay, let me try this. And this was when I like was very clean from ever using cannabis at that time. So I had different strains. I kept a journal of what time I was smoking or whatever. I would take like one puff or two puffs and then put it down, walk away, go be productive for 2 hours, and then maybe, just repeat throughout the day. And so I wasn't even smoking that much, like maybe 1 or 2 joints total per day, but over time. And so I would track everything. And over a period of time of like between 6 to 9 months, I was able to get off all my prescription medications. I at first did replace drinking with weed, like recreationally, to like, I don't know, just adjust, I guess. But I was able to get off of alcohol, and then I was losing weight and just living a better life. But then my body was getting better and healing. And then I got pregnant. And then when I went to go confirm my pregnancy, I tried to explain to her, like I was able to get off all these medications and like, this is improving my life and I'm happier and I feel better. And she threatened me. She said, if you come back with THC in your system, we are calling CPS, Child Protective Services, on you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hold on. Well, like, what are the alternatives? And she said, well, we can prescribe Zofran for you. We can give you Zoloft. We can do, and I'm like, that's not what I want as a mother. Like, while I'm pregnant, for me, like thinking about, and I thought about this long and hard, and I started talking to as many other moms out there that I could who had consumed, like what happened, whatever. And even though I was giving them all this information, they still were like, it doesn't matter. But then for my third child, so I quit for that one. My third child, I was like, I'm not doing this again, because it was a very horrible pregnancy for me. I did not feel, I was like, I'm still upset about it that I wound up going back on prescription medication instead of just, doing what I felt right for my body. So I found midwives who were supportive of my cannabis use. I medicated with cannabis throughout my entire third pregnancy and had no issues. I thought they were going to like test me in the hospital. So I was fully prepared to like get a lawyer, stand up for my rights, speak for those who have no voice. But then COVID happened and they basically like just wanted everyone to get out of there. And so they didn't test me, but they could have. Mm-hmm. And that's why I continue doing my advocacy.
To this particular issue, just for this one point, I never tell my doctors I smoke weed or do anything else, because it is still a federally regulated substance. And because they are medical professionals, they are obligated to release or to report. Like in her case, it's like, obviously she's not going to be a threat to her child, but there are been many, many cases where the government has used this excuse to bust up families, to take away children, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
So where I'm never going to say I'm not an advocate for lying, because I absolutely am an advocate to lying to the federal government. So, and even though Jenny did everything right in talking to her care provider, being clear about what worked for her, letting them know that she was in a good state, but they were still bogged down by these old issues. So I say to you, because even I don't tell my therapist I smoke or I do anything, because I don't even want to get into that situation.
Yeah. And that's what I hear a lot from people. And that's what I talked about with Dr. Contessa from Married to Medicine, because she's a doctor who specializes in addiction therapy, who does think that there are studies. She's a scientist. She goes off of data, and the data shows that it can be used medicinally for not just for your health, but then also the data that shows how disproportionately affected, certain communities were during Prohibition and just the history of it. And so she's a doctor in a state where it's still illegal, but she knows that scientifically this could be an option. It's not for everyone. I never in a million years will say, yes, go smoke weed. Like, no, that's not the case at all. And I don't recommend pregnant women to go smoke weed either. That was like my personal situation that there's a lot of factors that went into that. And I did everything the most safe way possible. But I mean, we talked about that on an episode, because I'm like, how do you as a doctor and a scientist, knowing this information, knowing that the government is a hypocrite with their own patent on the plant,
Well,
stating very
unfortunately,
clearly that has medicinal purposes,
Yeah.
yet you can't, even
unfortunately, the government's a
encourage it.
hypocrite about a lot of things in those
Yeah.
cases, and it's very sad because we're so open and accepting now of prescription medication as a society. Like, write a script for it, and there's nothing wrong with prescription medicine,
Yeah.
especially as someone who speaks out about mental health stuff all the time. I am very pro it if it is going to help you and give you what you need. But at the same time, it's a little ludicrous to me that people will be pro taking like these medications with all these side effects, but then be anti this herb from nature that can possibly produce the same thing. And I know that you have to like watch it a little bit more. Like, I didn't even realize, I didn't know microdosing was a thing, and I was microdosing, because there is a difference between like, oh, I'm just going to have a little bit to feel better, feel happier on work, versus like, I'm going to get lit. And those days are fun too, but those days aren't every day. Most days it's like,
it's like
just a little bit
after 5 p.m. type.
right.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
I'm gonna relax.
Later in the afternoon. Yeah, because no one says anything if you say like, oh, I come home and I have a glass of wine every day.
Or a bottle of
Or
wine.
a bottle of wine.
A
Everyone's
bottle
like,
of
oh,
wine. I
yeah,
had a
girl,
bottle
me
of
too.
wine last night, and
Yep.
nobody says anything
Nobody blinks an
about
eye.
it.
But if you're like, oh, I had a joint, they're like for me, the only real negative of it is the fact that you have to smoke it. And as an asthmatic, my poor lungs, I try to go the edible route when I can. Like, so I'll bake like a thing of brownies or cookies to last me for a while, just to help
They
my
have
lungs.
patches too.
Yeah.
You can, like, how they have nicotine patches, they have like THC and CBD patches that will go into your bloodstream.
Well, see, and that's the nice
and
thing
it's
too about
dermal.
it being.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I was just
gonna say that's the nice thing. Hold on, I was gonna say that's the nice thing about it being going mainstream now, right? That there's ways to have other forms of it besides like just getting a little bit from your back alley friend and having to smoke it wherever you can. Like, now you can walk into a place with people who know what they're talking about, who have different ways that
like
you can take it. And it should be.
Because there's so many different strains and like ways to consume. I mean, you really think about all the different types of coffee, or like even Starbucks, a whole chain of how much money do they make? Billions of dollars a year just around coffee. Like, there's like you could do the same with weed.
But I think the difference, going back to something Nyemade said, particularly with prescription medication as opposed to something that grows in nature, the difference is, one, with weed, you can grow it in your backyard. You can grow it in a planter on your balcony. You can grow it in your apartment. And nobody's got anything to say about it because it's yours, which is the problem the federal government has with this. We all know that the real reason that it was even made illegal in the first place was because of racism. Mexicans were growing it and selling it and making money in Texas, right? Black people were vilified in the South, even though hemp and marijuana had been grown everywhere.
George Washington was a hemp farmer.
Yep.
Well, fuck that guy, but for another thing. But so we have to also think about in a very real way. For me, smoking was something that I did to feel better, but it was also a social form of activism for me, in the sense like, fuck you, fuck your laws, fuck you oppressing my people, fuck you oppressing my Black friends and my Black family, fuck you for thinking you're better because your medication came out of a factory that I have to pay for.
Well, think about it. That's their biggest
administrations
threat.
have also admitted that their whole war on drugs was a way of going around having activating and targeting people due to racism. Like, they specifically packaged it that way. They know they packaged it that way because you can't say we want to arrest more Black people or hippies or whatever, but you can say we want to arrest people doing these drugs.
Yes.
And I say it all the time. Like, I grew up in suburbia America, whiteness, and they use it just as much. So it's hilarious to me.
They use
as
it
well.
More.
They do.
All of my white friends.
Yes, they're up. Yep.
None of my Mexican friends did drugs ever.
Yeah. So it's amazing that even today, when people think about it, they think like, oh, Black people or people who aren't doing anything or having a life. I'm like, but like everyone white, I know more white people that do it than Black people, but it's universal. Everyone does it.
It's funny because at the dispensary that I go to, I'm not even joking. I would say on average, the people that are waiting, you know, to go back and purchase are 55 plus, like the majority. And it's, you know, it's nice to see, because at the beginning, when they first made it legal in Florida, you know, Florida's, it depends on where you are. You know what I'm saying? Like where I live, it's a very progressive area. I live in the greater Orlando area. Nyemade, you're familiar. Like it's very different here, but you could go 20 minutes the opposite direction and it's like a
rural and country.
Very weird. So those people were very against it, but now they're so fucking excited for it. Like you'll hear them back there, like asking so many questions, like, cause they don't know, you know, they don't know the same way we do. Like, what's a terpene? Like, what is THCV? Like, what is a cannabinoid?
That's
like,
a good one.
That the THCV is so hot right now.
Suppressant.
The appetite suppressant weed. My husband is like,
I did not know that was we'll have to connect after that. I didn't know that was
Doug's Varen. That's a good strain that has a high potency of THCV. Which
I don't think I've seen that one. What is it? Doug's Varen?
Yeah,
was it Bethany, the one that was going to try to market?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Skinny weed.
But I wouldn't, like, the thing is though, I also understand because people get far with fear, and so to get people to not do it, there's so much fear placed in certain generations about like, it's the gateway drug, you just do that and you like everything, and like, sure, it is the gateway drug for some people, but so is alcohol. It's easy to get.
So alcohol is
everything else. Alcohol is probably more of a gateway drug because more people can get it. And there's even, so one of my favorite movies, and I watch it every year on 420 in remembrance, is called Reefer Madness, but it's like a mock of the original Reefer Madness. Like there was originally this like PSA movie about how like
black and white movie where the woman the black and white herself out a window.
Yes, about like, it was basically like reefers coming to your town and it'll turn, literally it said your kids into whores and drug dealers, like, and it was like an actual PSA about
like
how
literal, like actually, like
like it actually came smoking weed,
but then they made
and
a
she's
musical
playing the piano and she's going nuts, and then she
like
throws herself out a window.
Basically, like
I love
basically the weed turns them all insane. It's crazy. But they did a remake of it with like Kristen Bell and a few other people, and it's so funny though. I love the remake.
I didn't know that. I have to watch
see that one.
Yes, Reefer Madness. Look it up if you haven't.
Okay.
But so also, you know, I totally forgot that because the episode is called "Is MaryJane the Best Housewife?" Housewives are known for their taglines. So I wanted to ask you guys, if MaryJane was a housewife, what would her tagline be? Or what would her tagline be?
I got one.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I have a couple.
Okay.
People like to make me out to be the villain, but all I'm doing is just hanging here chilling.
Ooh, I like that. I
have a couple other ones, but that's what I'm going with today.
I like that one. That was so good.
That's good.
I'm totally stealing mine from the late great. My name is MaryJane, and I'll be your main flame.
Are you going next?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
Mary
I
Jane,
stole that from
Rick Flame.
Yeah, I stole that from Rick James. R.I.P.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the song Mary Jane.
Why is it not like popping? Did you just like speak it and I'm not picking up on it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, really? What song? You're
Mary
like, no,
Jane, she's
actual
my main
MaryJane. You're like, idiot. Listen to me. I'm telling you. No. Okay. So I guess I'll go. I'm looking at the list of ones that I made at like.
I'll go with mine, which was I make special brownies and I'm not talking Dutch.
Ooh,
something like that.
I like that. I really like that one.
Yeah. I struggled, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I struggled with I can't come up with taglines. They stump me.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
You gotta be in the right mind frame.
Exactly. I think the one I'll say, Prince gave us Purple Rain, but I gave us Purple Haze.
Ooh, I like that.
Purple Haze is one of my favorite strands. So
it is a good one.
It is a good one.
It fits perfectly.
Or like
Did you
the
say you had
only-
others, Jenny?
I have this one that I used to use as my go-to, but I can't take credit for it because I think I saw it on like a bumper sticker or something. And I just like did bumper sticker, but make it housewives. It's
modification.
I'm not just smoking hot. I'm also smoking a lot of pot.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay, that's
I like
sassy.
that
I like
one.
a sassy one. I made
All right.
my sassy one is this hybrid honey can handle any sativa diva.
Ooh,
I
yeah,
like
Very nice.
Yes, I like that.
Shade.
All right, any
Like a
others?
deliver.
I only came up with the one, and that took me like a week.
No,
So
it's too early.
I just got.
I'll
the
say
one.
my last one. Okay. The other one I had was my bond to plant medicine is stronger than any Gorilla Glue.
Ooh,
I
you-
also bought
I like that.
Thank you. And then the only fuel this luxury engine takes is sour diesel.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
Now,
love
yes.
it.
I love
See, that
sour
13-year-old
diesel.
weed did not affect your mind.
No,
You are
girl,
still
look at
Yeah,
me.
no.
Fucking
Still sharp.
thriving over here. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, what is
I'm
your-
doing amazing, sweetie. Chris Jenner.
Yes.
will be proud.
Yes.
What is your current favorite weed? My friend grows one called Gusher. I don't even know what it is, but that shit is nice.
I like the cough is my go-to right now,
Mm.
but the Wiz Khalifa
Ooh.
is the new Wiz Khalifa strand that just came out. I don't know if it's everywhere yet. We just got it, and like every time it comes in, it sells out the same fucking day. And it's expensive too. For the 3.5 grams, I think it's $58 for the three. Yeah. So I'm like,
For an eighth,
yeah,
$55.
58. Yeah.
No.
Wait, how
babe,
much is
I'm
an eighth
sorry.
for all you guys? Because I feel like, or an ounce. Don't they go by ounce?
Like
Like when
40.
you ask
I
other
figured eighth
people.
is like 45. I'm terrible at figuring out pricing.
Oh yeah.
I also have no
I can't
clue
do
what
math. I
strands I
can't do
like.
drug math. No, drug math.
I can't do
toilet
drug
paper
math.
Yeah, drug math, toilet paper math, paper towel
I
math.
hate
No.
toilet paper
No,
math.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
how many times can I wipe my ass? Like, just like on average,
'cause the
like what?
thing
How
is,
many
Visually, it's not even the same thing because different weeds weight
are
more
denser?
compact
Yes,
or more
Yeah,
lighter.
that's true.
All I know is that I give my buddy $100 and he gives me a big ass bag.
That's all.
every
Yeah,
month. And he's so amazing because he labels everything and he says what it is. And
yeah,
this is why you have to be friends with your drug dealers.
That's
This is why you
customer
have to be
service.
yes.
friends with the
Or your
people that
part of
know the
branding.
product.
Learned as a
shop
good
local.
code for it.
Shop
Code for
local.
if you hear somebody
Shop
talking about their
local.
plug,
Loyal.
that's what.
Yeah.
That's
But
what it
but
means.
quite frankly, even before it was legal, like
It's expensive
I-
as shit
I-
here because it's medically regulated. That's why.
Yeah.
Like
That
I
is the
have-
one bad thing about it becoming medical is that it's good because you can, legally use it, but then it's also bad because they're gonna capitalize the hell out of it and make it
Yeah.
super
I mean,
expensive.
I will say one of the reasons California has so much fuck you money right now is because of regulated cannabis industry. So I'm actually all
Florida.
for it. It
Mhm.
Yeah, it
if
helps.
you have to go to a store to buy weed, then yes, pay the tax.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
it's just the use tax. Most of the people who are paying it, it's not a financial burden to them at
Okay.
all. Pay it. Pay
Yeah.
it.
To be honest, a lot of dispensary owners don't make any money because
Mhm.
the taxes are so high. People can just go get it from their plug, and
Mhm.
these
Yeah.
people aren't like some states are not doing that great as far as actually selling weed, because a lot of people, it's like the gold rush. They all thought like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, it's
oversaturated.
legal. Yeah, so then it got
Yeah.
oversaturated, and the state kind of just like let it all open, and that's how it got overcrowded. That's why you have your dispensaries on every corner, but now they've diluted everything, so there's not much profit. In New York State, they're still trying to roll out the whole recreational program, and they're trying to prevent that by releasing slowly over time how many licenses are available, and they're doing it to people who have been impacted by the war on drugs, if they've been incarcerated for marijuana, or they have some kind of record from the past or whatever. So New York is they're super slow with it. It's been like almost 2 years since we
Yeah.
went legal, but still do not have one recreational dispensary. that's
But
legal.
one of the
Hopefully
other
it'll
things that
get there.
a lot of these companies
Yeah.
are dealing with is also, it's like, how do they handle their money? Again, because it's still federally banned, you cannot put any money you make
Yeah.
selling weed of any kind
Mhm.
into an FDIC bank. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people are really dealing with issues of, I don't have a bank where to put this money. So you're dealing with a lot of violence and people getting raided or
Yes.
people.
Yeah, it's
So
dangerous
Yeah.
we gotta
because
look
there's no
at the
security
government.
behind it.
But it really,
See,
like
it's
you said,
different
to
here.
Jenny's point, it is absolutely, why's my hand up? It's very, it's really interesting how the states that just said willy-nilly, let's put it all out there, right? This is a situation rather than well planned and well thought out. But
Right.
but that should just educate us as to what the fuck is our legislator doing? Because I will always be the first one. We need to be an informed citizenry. We need to know why things are happening and actually contact our local officials. People
Yeah.
always want to focus on
I bugged the shit
national
out of them.
politicians, big senators, where the real
Oh yeah, no, it's
impact that you
local.
can make is in your city council.
Don't get me on
your
my
planning
local
department.
election soapbox.
Oh,
because
no,
I
no,
will
we'll
be
talk
here
about that.
for an hour talking about how important it is and how people
Yeah.
need to pay attention and how it's really the people at your local levels, state and down,
Yes.
that really make the decisions that impact your life. So
Yep.
people need to
Yeah.
pay attention to it. Like, absolutely.
Who's your county
But so talking about
supervisor, all that.
housewives, we talked a little bit about microdosing. One of the places that I saw it mentioned was on the Housewives of OC. So I know that Tamara, and I'll ask you guys about Tamara's usage. I didn't see those. I saw recently with Heather and Shannon and them talking about their microdosing and edibles, and it was fun to watch. I think some
that's
people like Heather
right.
need it so they
Shannon
can
brought
chill.
the candy, and they're all
Yeah,
like,
she brought the candy.
which
And I
makes
am
me,
a
I'm like,
fan.
these bitches don't know what they're doing.
Shannon had me dying.
Yeah,
I'm a
it
Shannon
was kind of
apologist.
annoying. It was amazing, but kind of annoying at the same time for a few different reasons. One, why does it take this really rich white woman to bring cannabis onto our screens? That's annoying. But if it takes Heather Dubrow, then fine, whatever. I'll still cheer for the progress we're making.
Right.
But and I think she did it from a really good place, how she described it. She said, since it's been legalized, I'm dabbling and experimenting. And she approached it in a like, her husband's a doctor. We all know her
Do you think that's
lifestyle.
do you think that's true though? Do you think it's since it's been legalized, or do you think
No.
it's like, let me introduce what I've been doing forever in
Yeah.
a
Oh
way
yeah,
that
she
is
probably
acceptable?
she probably has been doing it for a while. But same with me. Like I didn't talk about it or feel comfortable talking about it until it became legal in my state.
Yeah,
And
same.
because as a mother, they just created a new law where CPS cannot take away your children in New York State or in New Jersey based solely on THC. So I feel more safe about it. Plus, I have my podcast. Plus, I talk to the principals at my kid's school, the teachers, her therapist, the coach, everyone. They know me. The cannabis lawyers that are local here, they know me. I even asked them, like, should I talk about this on my podcast? And they're like, yeah. I don't know. I got down this road, but Shannon Vidor, I love her, but I didn't like how they portrayed them microdosing because they made it seem silly and like out of control. Like they made it,
which is the opposite of
editing.
microdosing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it seem like it was more recreational, like what you would do if you're like, it's a
Yes.
Friday night, we're hanging out, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the
Yeah.
opposite of microdosing. Microdosing
Right.
is so, it's just a little bit and you're just chill.
Enough
Did you
to get
see
you.
how teeny tiny those candies were? And they were nibbling on it like it
They're
was
about like
rabbit
2
food?
milligrams.
Yeah.
2
That
milligrams
was so
wouldn't do
fake.
anything
Maybe
to
because
me.
were they drinking
And
too?
they were
That's the only
drinking.
thing I could think of. Yeah.
That's another thing. I
That-
do not recommend drinking
Do not
and
drink
mixing.
and smoke.
Yeah,
If
I
you
usually
do,
pick one or the other.
Smoke before you drink.
You drink,
but
yes. Don't do the other way
Oh,
around.
yeah.
You'll throw up.
Don't
drink
ever
after
drink
you-
or
no.
smoke after
Always
drinking. Yeah.
smoke first, then drink,
Yeah,
and then
then drink.
continue smoking.
Yeah.
But start off with the.
I've been
you know,
hospitalized 3 times. I'm telling you, do not ever mix.
Yeah, you're like,
if you're
don't do
if
that.
you're listening and you're new, like just rule of thumb, just don't do it.
Don't do it.
And also
No.
ease into it. Like sometimes it takes a minute to catch up, even though, first of all, with edibles, it
Edibles,
definitely
you
takes
don't
a while. definitely takes a while.
Way
Wait
different.
before you, because that is I made that mistake once where I was just like, oh, nothing's happening. I guess
I'll
it
take
didn't really
more.
work. And then I had more, and then I was like, oh my God.
You're like, oh.
The world is spinning. But yeah, so just remember that
Oh.
even when you're smoking, it takes a minute to kick in. So don't overdo it, especially if you're newer to it or just trying, because there are a lot of people who are
And-
older that are just trying it for the first time,
Yeah.
whether it's for mental health reasons, physical reasons, people with arthritis.
Yes,
It's
psoriasis
been known to help
even.
them. Yeah.
Use the topical, but the other thing I
Insomnia.
think it's important to like point out, because some people, when you talk to them, they're like, oh no, I had a really bad experience, like weed just isn't for me, and they base it off of one experience, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, how many times have you thrown up from drinking too
Right.
much Jaeger?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
here you are.
Actually, I just had an interview with Reza from Shaws of Sunset this week, and he told the story of his first time with weed and how he was throwing up. And it was
I've thrown
when he
up
was
so many
young.
times.
Yeah, I've thrown up from it
From
before.
just
But then
weed?
he said
Yeah.
now it's like,
Oh.
he said it's now a part of his life and it enhances his life.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like,
Bong hits to this day are still like, I have to be
Triggering?
very, well, no, a little bit traumatizing, because every time I've ever thrown up from just cannabis, it's been because I've taken like the fattest bong rip
Yes.
of my life.
that's happened to
Wow.
me too.
And then I'm like, whoa, but it's still
Yeah.
like, after I puke, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend, if it doesn't work for you, like, so I don't do that very often because I know
Yeah.
I'm running the risk of like,
Yeah, like just
Throwing
start
up.
slow. Go
Start
slow.
slow.
Yeah, I highly
You know what I
recommend for
found?
anybody who's going to do it for the first time, get yourself a weed buddy.
yeah,
Yeah.
get a
Somebody
friend.
knows.
who
Get
Get
a
knows.
a
friend who knows what they're
do it
doing.
with some,
Yes.
because I've had that experience with all of a sudden I'm like, hey, smoke this, and they're like, no, and I'm like, no, do it, you'll be fine, and they're starting to have panic attacks. I have had to talk people down while I'm like, all you got to do is breathe.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Why
I'll
is
be
that so hard for
fine.
people to understand?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, because it feels weird. I still remember my first time. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God!" They're like, "Just
They'll
breathe,
get
drink water.
nervous.
You just need a burp." Like it's
You're fine.
it's interesting.
Oh,
Look,
actually,
if
have you
it's-
guys ever done a 23andMe genetic test or whatever?
No,
Because they
I
have-
don't trust the
just-
government.
I know I never took one until just now. I did it this week because I am talking to the CEO of Endocanna Health. They have a way to take that same data to show you what
Strand.
like pre-existing conditions you may be prone to. Like if you're prone to anxiety, maybe you shouldn't try a big dose of weed for your first time. But yeah, it also tells you like what strain works best
Oh,
with your
that's cool.
body. Yeah, I thought that was so cool. I'm waiting for my
Yeah,
test
that is
results.
interesting.
No, my brother
something-
and sister did it, and I'm like, we're
You're
fine.
good.
I'm Mexican. That's all we need to know.
Something that I found interesting. So if you've been watching the series, you know I'm a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fan and a Kyle fan. Even though, oh Lord, she made it hard this year. She made it hard, but
Okay.
I'm
It happens.
still a fan of them. I still love Mauricio, even though everybody hates him now. But I feel like people make mistakes. But that's a whole nother topic.
Okay.
What is interesting though is over the years how open they have become about their usage of it. Because I don't know if you all remember, a while ago, back when Lisa and Brandy were still on there, they all took the trip to Amsterdam.
Mhm.
And Brandy and Kyle got into a big thing because
Mhm.
Kyle didn't want to admit to using it, which at the
Mhm.
time I totally got because they still had young kids. It
Yeah.
wasn't as open as it is now. And telling your friends off camera is very different than telling them
Yeah.
on camera. And I think at the time Brandy had younger kids, so she wasn't
Mhm.
thinking about it as much as like Kyle, who had kids in high school whose friends were going to see it. And so she didn't want it on air because there is still that stigma around it. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting seeing that group go from like, oh, like maybe I'll try it, maybe not, to like everyone openly knowing that Mauricio's high all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm. Or
Well,
even when
Mauricio has been
Brenna
high the
brought-
whole entire time. Now that
But
we,
has he
but now that
admitted
when you
it?
go see old episodes, you're all like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, now we know.
But-
Yeah,
But does he admit it?
I don't know if anybody's ever
I don't know if
asked.
I feel like we all
Because if
ask-
he's in the
he
green
admits he
closet,
smokes. He admits
does
he
have it-
smokes now.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't know, this whole thing of like, I'm conflicted because I'm all about like advocating for, being a cannabis consumer, but then also I want to respect people who are in the green closet and are
True.
not comfortable yet because we are in this like time of legislation reform. It's like it depends on what state you're in, really. Like if you how much
But
you
Kyle
should share.
and Mauricio laughed because Erica told Garcelle's son to fuck off. So I can say, fuck you, Kyle.
I
Fuck
know,
you, Mauricio. We all know you were fucking high as fuck with PK and Dorit that night.
Right.
That's why
They
we
were.
were laughing at
That's
a
why you thought it
young
was funny.
child getting fucking dragged by an old BFF.
I almost wish they would say that. Like I would be okay
Me too,
with
because
them
honestly,
blaming that.
that's part of
I was high
that's
as
honestly
shit.
part of why I give them a little leeway on it, because like if I was that and someone, especially not seeing it, if someone just came to me and was like, Shannon told this kid to shut the fuck up, I'd be like,
I would cry.
Like, because I would be in that state of mind, like, and it would be nothing personal, it'd be nothing racial, it'd be nothing about being a parent.
Oh my God, that's
And
how
like,
I feel
I
about
wish they
Jen
were just
Shaw.
honest about that. Yeah.
I laugh when Jen Shaw's going crazy because I'm like,
It's
Oh
like
my
a kid.
Yeah,
What
unless
about
I usually
me?
smoke.
What about me?
She's
Jen Shaw
they
needs
say
to smoke. Jen Shaw needs to chill out.
Wow.
She is the
Yes.
worst.
Oh my
Jen
God.
Shaw, like I can't with Jen because she
I
acts
Jen
like
Shaw definitely
such
does
a
not
child.
smoke weed.
She
After,
should.
I did not see last night's episode, but I saw last week's episode when they left her sleeping in the Sprinter van, and then she was all nice and fresh. I'm like,
she needs to switch out her alcohol for weed because she is not good on alcohol. She's on another level, and she needs to find that calm down somewhere else.
I'm like,
but yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I wish they would be
I'm
honest
daydreaming
about
of
it.
Jen Shaw on an edible now. Like, oh my gosh, would that be funny as hell?
I think that would be that would have saved her.
Here's another question for you guys. Do you find that it impacts you differently based on how you take it? So like if I smoke, I'm more like chill, like, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. But if I have an edible, I'm like, turn up. Let's turn up. Like once it hits my system, I'm like,
so
I know. And a lot of people don't have that. But for some reason, when I have an edible, it gives me like a body high. Like I feel it in my whole
body high.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just want to crack jokes. Like it's a good time. But yeah, depending on how it is, it's different for me.
I start my day like I have a morning gummy, and then like a midday gummy, and then I have an evening gummy.
Yeah.
And then
are they different strains?
Yes, they
and
are
doses?
usually
nice.
Nighttime doses more because I do two 10 milligram indica gummies at night, and then during the day, depending on how I feel in the morning, like if I've had too much coffee, I don't need any more uppity shit. So like sativa, don't need that. Hybrid is
right, because sativa is uppity and indica is like in the couch, which is how I learned to remember it. Yeah.
Hybrid is a combination of the two, but I prefer a sativa dominant hybrid just because I do like a little bit of a kick. I'm tired, you know, we're moms, like we're tired, like, we're boss babes, we're fucking tired. So
can't believe you just said boss babe.
Boss babes. I'm embracing it. You know what? I'm embracing it. Like just
you are? Oh my gosh.
You know what?
I love that.
I love that.
Hate it.
You know what? I
also decided like that I like to when the hustlers use it to calm down. Like I said, I like it for fun, but I loved when they did the ultimate girls trip. If you all watched and Eva used it, like she should have given some to Vicky because Vicky needed some. But I do love that Eva was like, y'all are all crazy. I'm just gonna smoke here and be happy.
That's the only way
definitely
to survive being around those women, honestly.
100%.
There's no way I could have done that trip like in any kind of state of sobriety. No.
Well, and I'm like,
I would have been a wake and bake kind of bitch too.
Yes.
Like I'm more like
all
Tamara,
day.
How Tamara and Vicky were like, where do we whoop it up around here? Like, where the fuck are we? We're in the middle of the woods. Like, living in California, that's not the vibe. I live in the Orlando area. Like, I would be like, where are we? There are mosquitoes.
I know that area.
bugs.
I live close to the Berkshires and I go there all the time. And when I found out they were going there, I was like, what?
Like, what are they going to do?
This is going to be hilarious because it's like an old person town. Like
it looks cute. It looks cute.
It's like when people go there who love to hike and get up at like 3 a.m. to see the sunrise over the mountain or whatever. Like,
But that's
I
when it's
probably
like
won't do that.
especially that's when it's like especially nice to have it because like there's nothing to
Yeah.
about just chilling. Like my friends and I went camping
Oh
once
my
and it was
God. Yes.
the best. We literally just sat there staring at the campfire
Yes,
all
be
day.
one
But like
with
there
Earth.
is so great like when you have that like full body high. I love to just like
Yes.
listen to music and just
Yes.
think and daydream. Like it just feels so good.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
I like being at the beach. Like Marianelle, you can probably agree with that. Like going to the beach
Mm.
when
I like
you're
being high everywhere.
yeah.
So
You're like Dr. Seuss. You're like on a kite,
yeah,
on a bike, on a train,
On a
on a
bike,
God,
on a
I
plane,
get
train
so
in the
high to go
rain.
on a plane. I
Yeah.
love getting high going on a plane.
here and there
then
and
just like,
everywhere.
Oh my
yeah.
God, that's so
I
funny. I
used
love
to
that.
I used to walk to my office from my house and it was about a 20-minute walk. So I'd smoke a joint on my way to work.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like if I have to do any serious Zoom meetings where I just have to like just
Mhm.
occasionally go, love being high. I like being high all the time. I ain't gonna lie.
Same.
I'm a
Just a
Honestly,
little-
it really helps. Like I get why so
microdose.
many creatives, like unfortunately, I get why so many creatives have substance abuse problems
Yeah.
if you're not careful with it. Because I
Mhm.
also know that like my best writing is after because it opens you up, like it
Yes.
removes the barriers, and I'm just like, here's all my deep intellectual thoughts. Like there have really been times where I've thought like I should start. You know, you're talking about TikToks, like because I will talk out loud my what I think is just brilliance
Same.
into like the room. And I'm like, I should record these things or write them down, like
Yes, you
all my little
should.
life
Yeah.
tips for people. But it does, it like opens you up and you're just having all of these thoughts. And I do love a good high conversation because it really, it's like on another level. It may be because you're high, but it
Well,
feels
yeah.
on
you
just
don't have as
another
many
level.
inhibitions. Like
Yeah.
you're
That
being
that right there. I
honest,
do
authentic.
like smoking and reading
Yes.
tarot for myself and other people. I won't
Bitch, I have the
drink.
best pulls when I'm super
Yeah.
faded. I will dive deep into
I
the deck and be like, yes,
I
yes.
don't drink in tarot. And sometimes I'll be somewhere and they're all like, do my reading. I'm all like, I'm 3 drinks in. I can't.
Right.
But I could be 3 joints in and be all like, all right,
Be
let's
like
go.
totally
So
fine.
it is a totally different thing. And it's really funny because, people said I gave up drinking. Well, I involuntarily gave up drinking during COVID because, my roommate left. I was by myself and I don't social drink. So all of a sudden my body was all like, oh, we're not drinking anymore. So I'm
Oh.
like,
Mm.
ah. So the
Yeah.
whole, oh, I lost weight. I look better. I'm healthier, happier. That did not happen with me. So I'm just like, I'm drinking. I'm just smoking more weed now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
it's
I do like,
better.
yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking of, giving up of drinking, we saw James Kennedy give it up with Vanderpump Rules. James, I'm trying to work on liking him again. I did not like him for so long that I'm like, ugh. But I'm trying to, now that he's on his sobriety journey, trying to understand that was him under the influence and he's a little bit better. But he is one of those who will use the term California sober. But I know that Jenny, you've had some interaction with him. You're a huge fan of his, right?
Well, like, okay, so for watching him on Vanderpump Rules, I've always had this like love hate. I'm like cringing sometimes, like, how dare you, James? Like the spitting on Kristen's door, just like some of the body shaming Katie and things. Like I've just been like, this man needs to get it together. But then I see he does show the vulnerable side, and like we know kind of why James is the way he is, right?
Yep, we met his parents.
His
His mom.
upbringing. Yeah, all that. And like, I get it. And then plus he has his own like ADHD and anxiety and things like that. And so when this whole, like the last season came up with Raquel wanting him to quit, this question kept coming up in my mind. I was posting about it and people were arguing about it, saying like, James should definitely quit. Like if you're an addict, you should quit. And then on the other hand, I'm like, well, it helped me to quit a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's helped improve my lifestyle. Like there's nothing, I don't have any negative side effects or downsides to using it. So then I invited a licensed substance abuse counselor, G. Scott Graham, onto my show. And I told him this whole story about James Kennedy, how he quit drinking. He was shocked. He was shocked that James quit drinking like that for Raquel. And I told him, I was like, people are saying he should quit and they're shaming him, making him feel bad. But then there's a scene where he says like, why do I have to quit? Like, I feel better. I can focus better. I'm more creative. I'm happier, you know? And so like, why should he quit? And I asked straight up, should James quit weed? And the licensed substance abuse counselor said only James can answer that question, because this whole idea of what does addiction mean? What does sobriety mean? What is, you know, like these are questions that people think are so binary in this world, but it really isn't. And so, you know, like you're the only person who can define what your sobriety is, right? I mean,
And, you know,
I
like
would
the
even
way
say,
that
okay.
No, I was just gonna say, like, and the way that it impacts people negatively is different as well. Like I mentioned, you know, like with my asthma. So as far as like smoking is the negative, but other than that, I don't really have any others, except for sometimes if I'm off with the micro dosing, I do lose that productivity. So if I do a little bit, my mind is open and I think and I'm ready to type and work and do all the things. But then I go a little over that and I just want to chill. Do nothing.
Yeah,
Like
and but
that's
like
sort of like the only negative side effect of it is my productivity sometimes.
As adults, like it's our responsibility to know our bodies and to
Yeah.
know how to control ourselves. Because I would even argue that caffeine could be more
absolutely
dangerous than cannabis or sugar.
1,000.
My father
This
is
was
a
full of
sugar
cold
addict.
brew.
My father is addicted to sugar, hands down, to the point where he hides his sugar, his candies. He, you know, is a diabetic and would rather shoot up insulin than change his diet. To me, that is a much more severe addiction than for somebody to say I'm an addict. Like, what am I addicted to? Right. Because I know that when I go in and I need to talk to my daughter's principal, that I may not smoke a whole joint. I might have like one puff, but but you know, I know myself, and I think it's all of our own responsibilities to like know how to
it's
handle
so much
ourselves.
easier for me to be like, because every now and then I'm very careful about like addiction, because I don't ever have to give up my fun vices. So I try to make sure I keep them in line. So every now and then I'll be like, okay, I'm not gonna do it for this a while, just to make sure I can, because I do have instances where I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna do it tomorrow, and then the next day comes, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. So if I do that too many days in a row, I'm like, let me take like a week off to make sure I still can take a week off, because you don't want to wait until you can't before you realize that. But it's so much easier for me to take a week, a month off of doing that than it is for me to like say I'm never going to have a cookie or something. You know, like people really don't talk about how much more addictive and harder it is to get off of like food things and sugar things than it is to get off of that.
Absolutely. And that's kind of how I went down the road of finding cannabis as part of my wellness, because I've struggled with eating disorders my whole life. And no one taught me how to have a relationship with food. Like, what is the proper relationship with food? And I'm 40 years old now, and I'm just starting to learn, like, it doesn't have to do with the knowledge of calories in versus calories out per day. There's so much more going on that you have emotional triggers to, and habits and things like that. And it's like, it's way deeper than that.
And I think one of you said something about you need to control yourself. And using the example of James Kennedy, this is a person that had a lot of demons, from his childhood, from watching his parents, knowing that they're both manipulative people, and him having to be responsible for his family at such a young age. The fact that he didn't land in rehab or worse is a testament, I think, to him on a certain level. So
that's true.
That reunion where he admitted, like, I thought quitting drinking would be enough, but it wasn't. Like, that broke. I have chills right now. Like, that was James being so raw. Like, I felt like, wow, we're lucky that we get to see this, because that's really amazing that he even admitted that on television.
But it goes to show you, unless you're in some form of therapy or you're really being honest with yourself as to why you react and do things, then nothing you do or nothing else you take is going to be effective form of controlling your emotions or dealing with it, because you got to get to the root of the problem first. Absolutely. I think a lot of times when people say these are issues of addiction or it's the substance or anything like that, no, we got to go back. We got to go back and deal. Where is your trauma coming from?
Yes,
Why
the
are
trauma.
you using it? You know, like you said, a
Mhm.
lot of people start doing this at a really young age because it's the thing that made them feel good, because
Mhm.
everything at home was shit. Everything at school was shit,
Mhm.
right? So, and it's funny because somebody said something
so
about
sorry.
doing stuff when they were older, and my nieces and my nephews, they're all like 22 and younger, down to like 3 years
Are you the
old,
cool
right?
aunt? Do they all come to smoke it up with you?
No, I told them no. Actually, it's really funny because I do have conversations with them about that. And I make it very clear with them. I'm like, once you're 25, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And they're all like, 25? I'm all, yeah, because that's when your frontal cortex is
It's
done
developed. Yep.
forming. You know, that's when your
Mhm.
brain is like going to be the brain it is going to be. And you don't want to rewire that with other stuff, whether it be alcohol, whether it be prescription, whether it be weed, whatever it is, right? And they think that's fucking hilarious. They're all like, wait a minute. So you're not saying not to do it. You're just saying to wait. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
like virginity.
Yeah.
Don't give it away, right?
Now, Shannon,
Like
you
virgin.
started when
Yeah,
you were
weed and
younger.
sex. That's
Did you
when I had
ever
my first
worry?
orgasm.
Yeah, that's better when you're over too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Shannon, did you ever worry about the chance of having addiction, or did you ever struggle with
Yeah,
letting
both
it
of
go
my
at all since you
parents-
started so young?
Both of my parents are addicts. They're both alcoholics. So yeah, I mean, addiction, okay, so I guess, and this is gonna land wrong because that's like my trademark, but if
brand.
I was going to be addicted to anything, I would rather be addicted to weed than alcohol,
Oh,
because
1000,
I've watched it ruin.
1000.
Yeah, you know,
Mhm.
like I watched it ruin my dad's life and like my mom and my biological dad's marriage. And then my mom got remarried to another alcoholic. And, you know, so growing up, it was more like, yeah, did I drink in high school? Yes, I did. But I liked smoking way more than I liked drinking. And it was always like, because I would always make comments about, you know, I never want to be an alcoholic. Like, I just don't like it. So it's always been something I'm hyper cognizant of, you know, like
Mhm.
I don't mind doing dry Januaries, or, you know, like it doesn't have to be January, it can be any month, but I'll just take breaks and be like, you know, I'm not going to drink for like 4 weeks or something like that. Just because, why not? And I haven't had like, I think it's been 2 weeks since I've had anything to drink. I went to a comedy show. Of course I was having, you know, I went and saw Kev on stage. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
So funny. Yeah. Yeah.
He's so sweet. But you know, yeah, I had 2 tequilas while I was enjoying the show.
Vita?
And I'm sorry.
Vita?
Was it Vita?
No, okay. So like, it's
Baby,
so
gorgeous.
It's so hard to find Vita and Casa del Sol in public here, like at a bar. But they do have,
knows what they are.
they do have
knows.
Casa del Sol. No, they do. The
Oh.
Agave restaurant, Agave is a
Yeah.
little up the street from my house. They do have Casa del Sol, and I tried
Oh,
it, and it
nice.
was good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
You mean Eva
I mean, also though, the
Longoria's
thing is-
tequila?
Also, the thing is too with weed, as far as it impacting your personality, like you don't hear many stories of the angry pothead versus like the angry
exactly.
drunk, you know?
Right. And like, I
And
remember,
honestly, if I had to choose for kids, I'd rather have them have a couch potato dad than an angry alcoholic dad.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Any day.
yeah. And like, I remember when I was in high school, one of my best friends in high school was like a star softball player, like straight A student. Little did everybody know that girl was getting absolutely bent before every single game, like taking the biggest bong hits ever. Like taking
I thought you meant
huge-
drunk.
No,
I know.
no.
I thought you meant abused.
No, just
I'm
like ripping
yeah,
bong hits and getting so faded and showing up and like
Yeah.
winning the game. And like,
Me too.
she got high as fuck before her SATs, got like
Me
a
too.
stupid good, you know, score. So it's different for
Different
everybody.
people.
Some
Everyone,
people, right?
Yeah, I got
same way
99
alcohol.
on my AP Calc exam, and I went.
I
still,
never
like,
got
every
that far
day.
in math. I'm like, that never happened. That was never a road I went down, thank God. But another thing, like you were saying, I would rather have a dad who's a couch potato than an angry alcoholic. for me with, I have a teenage son, and Jenny, you have a teenage daughter, and it's like, well, you had a journey recently, but like, I always tell my son, I would much prefer him, when and if he decides that he's curious, right?
Yeah.
To be curious about what nature has to offer, as opposed to like what's manufactured chemically, so it's not like I'm encouraging him to do anything, but my younger sister died in a drunk driving accident when she was 16 years old. Thank you. But so because of that, like her passing away from like an alcohol related incident as a teenager, I'm like, I don't want, to ever relive anything close to what that experience, left in, like the impact it left on me. So I always just say, look, if you get curious, have a conversation with me. Don't just go doing like whatever your friends have. You don't know what the hell that is.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
My
saying?
kid did it anyways. I told her all these things. I taught her about the science, prohibition. She's all about BLM. So I was like, oh, this is like, so she'll get it. Yeah. And then next thing you know, I was woken up and told I had to go pick her up because she took an edible at school. And first thing I was like, oh my God, she took an edible from me. I'm going to get in jail. What the fuck? And then, but then turns out she bought it from someone at school. I was like,
Mm.
Yeah, you're like,
the worst
Well,
time
it's interesting because people.
I came
As
in
they-
late when she was telling this story, and I had not realized you had a teenage daughter in school because all I've ever seen was the little ones. And I was just like, oh my, and that's why I
You're
told
thinking
you,
it was
I'm
the
like,
little
why
one.
are you not more
oh my
freaked
God,
out?
that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, she's just like really relaxed about it. She's
And
like,
then
yeah,
later
little
on,
Stella.
she goes, oh, when I went to, and then I was like, oh.
I was older. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have children, but like I said, I literally do have 12 nieces and nephews. And
wow.
so we do talk about this stuff. I talk about them. Like, these are my conversations with my nieces and nephews in the random car. Like, anybody here have an eating disorder we gotta talk about?
I feel like those are
And I
auntie
said,
roles. Like that is what an aunt should do.
Yeah,
That
and
is what I
then-
look forward to being an aunt, is having those conversations. Because sometimes you can't talk to your parent about it, but
No.
kids still need like
asked
a
my
trusted
kid that.
adult.
Grandma, like, are you guys sleeping with your boyfriends yet? They're all
Yeah,
I
I do too. I ask.
Yeah, I'm like,
But
you're
I
not trying to
always-
kiss your
Even when your
boyfriend.
parents ask,
Yeah,
and
but
even when
I
your
always
parents are cool
remind
about it.
them, I always remind them, I'm
Yeah.
all, look, we have alcoholism on all sides of our family. I look them in the eye and I tell them, I'm like, be careful with your drinking, because this is a disease that runs in our families, all of our families. So you can't just go out and start drinking and doing shots and think it's a funny thing that's not going to affect you. I'm like, have your fun, but realize that fun at that level does come with a certain kind of price.
Yeah. And I always think it's interesting when people sort of like look down on parents who talk to their kids about it. Like, I mean, and I weigh in the parenting advice waters I tread very lightly because I don't have kids, but I also feel like I appreciate the ones who don't try to parent from this delusional place of like, this is never going to happen. Like, have those conversations, because you know that they're having, that you know that, and even if the kids don't want to fully open up to you, they won't. Because I know like there are some things like my mom would talk to me about, and I'd be like, I'm not telling her that. Right. But I remembered things she told me. Like I remembered to like make sure I never left my cup open next to someone because there could be something put in it. Like even if in the moment they're like, okay, mom, whatever, it sticks with you and you remember it later. And I think like it's so important for parents to have those. And even if it's the conversation of like the usage, and because I remember one of my friends, her dad used it, and we all kind of knew. But I remember it was one of the times we came back from college, we were finally allowed to go down to the basement too. And we're like, oh my God, we're officially
like,
adults. We're adults. But you know, it's not,
that's so cute.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, we're having this adult moment. So even though I'm sure he knew we were all partaking before, it was never like, oh, I'm going to be that parent that tells you can. It was definitely don't. But if you do, be careful.
Or
so
if you have questions, or if you're like, if you feel like you're going to try it or want to try it, or if one of your friends has it, don't try. please don't try it. Like, I'm just
Right,
like, please,
right.
please don't.
Or call,
Yeah.
I'm like, call me,
Yeah,
call me,
like,
Right.
tell me what's going on. Let me know who the fuck
Yeah.
is over there.
right. Who are
Yes,
you with?
yes.
What's going on? Those sorts of questions. I just think I don't know. I think it's better to have an open dialogue about it. Like my kids and I are super open. We have a lot of really random conversations about a lot, like I have a teenage boy and, they do a lot of they're fucking weird. Like that's the best way I can put it is they're really weird and they're
Yeah.
nasty. And,
I think
like he has no
teens
problem.
are.
Huh?
I think all teens are weird.
No, like
and
boys
disgusting.
boys just
On
do
another
things
level.
on another level. Like I don't even go in his bathroom. I make my husband check to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. Like because
Yeah.
I've gone in there before and been like, what the fuck is going on in here? I'm like, what are you doing? Like
What is
there
the
was
smell?
yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
not even that. Like there was a stuffed animal like in the bathtub.
No, I don't wanna hear
and
the
I was
rest.
like,
No.
he was just like, well, the dog brought it in and dropped it in there when I was in the shower. And I was like, so you didn't like
Sure,
No.
that's what
pick it
happened.
up? You didn't
We'll
just,
believe that.
right. I'm like, you didn't think to pet. No, the dog really does take Ellie's toys and like hide them in the bathroom and
Yeah.
doesn't. So like if you shower with the, so I was like,
Oh my
okay, that's
gosh.
tracking, but like
Need a friend?
pick up after
Pick up,
yourself. They
yeah,
don't pick
yeah.
up. So I don't know. It's just, I like the relationship I have with my kids. And I think that, when it's time, he's expressed like, what does alcohol taste like? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's fucking gross. Like when you
Disgusting.
first
Yeah.
start drinking,
Oh, let me tell you, I remember the first, and the funny thing is too, is like I was such a church girl growing up. But
Okay.
I got into my worst shenanigans with church people than I ever did. Because at school, all my friends were nerds. At church,
Okay.
it was all like the good church kids who were able to like do whatever they want, and they were all secretly bad. So like my first drinking was with my church friends. I was 14. It was amazing and it was so fun.
yeah, it's true. A lot of my like
And so I was
super
like, that's
Christian
the
friends were
problem
like
that I loved it so much. But
God.
yeah, you just have to be careful, and you have to hope that you have people to talk to about it if you have those questions. And then we also just need to remove the shame from around it so that we can keep it, fun and light for people who need it, or people who use it recreationally, or people who use it medicinally. There's all different uses for it. And at the end of the day, it's your body. So let's not worry about what other people are doing with their bodies if they're not forcing it on you. Like, let's not be those judgmental people.
right.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a mom, like, because other moms are such assholes about it, like they'll
Mhm.
look at you like, well, I don't want my kid going over to that like trap house. It's like, calm
Meanwhile,
the
they're
fuck
on their
down.
Xanax and they're on their
Yeah.
Prozac, and then they're on their bottle of wine each night. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Wait,
Right.
who called who was living in a trap house? Was it on Potomac?
No,
It
but
was like this season recently. I feel like it was something Karen Huger said.
I was
Didn't
about
she
to say,
say
it
she
sounds like
lives?
something Karen would say
Yeah.
after that Sing Sing
Does
comment.
Karen know what a trap house is?
Karen just throws things out. Like the time
I
she
think
said
she called
Giselle was at
Giselle's
Sing
house.
Sing,
I
and then
think
she
she
didn't even know
did.
what Sing Sing was.
I
She
think
just
she
throws out
did
what
call
sounds good.
Giselle's house a trap house.
She goes, it just sounded good.
It
Yeah.
just sounded good.
Gotta love her. But no, like
Yeah.
people
Karen.
are so nasty about it. And like you said, like they're popping Xanax with their wine and
Yep.
being
No.
judgmental as
Well,
fuck.
thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. There's so much we could still talk about. I know we were going to talk
Oh,
about
I have a
but
question.
I don't want to keep going forever.
I,
but
I do have one last question for
Yeah.
everybody because
Yeah.
it just occurred to me. Which of the housewives do you want to get high with?
Ooh, that is a tough one.
I'll give you like 2 to 3 people.
Does it have to be a housewife?
Definitely Eva,
Or
because
Bravo.
I like her anyways, and I think
Yeah.
she's a fun, good time. Like, I want to do it with
any
fun.
Bravolebrity.
Yeah, any Bravo
Okay.
celebrity. I want to do it with fun people though, who are going to
I have a
like
group of 3.
chill and like make you laugh.
I want to smoke with Ariana.
Oh,
from
Dr.
Vanderpump.
Simone. I feel like Dr. Simone from Married to Medicine, because she cracks me
Dr.
up
Heavenly.
anyways.
Yeah. Dr.
Yeah.
Jackie. I want to get Dr. Jackie high.
Oh, I had like a situation with Dr. Jackie about weed, like at
She needs to
BravoCon.
get high.
Yeah.
She does.
There's some
She
people
doubled
that
down.
need to get high. Dr. Jackie needs to get high. Vicky needs to get
Vicky
high.
definitely needs
Oh,
to.
And Captain Jason, just because I want a shot.
I walked in on him going to the bathroom.
Captain Jason?
At
Are you
BravoCon?
serious?
Did you see it?
No.
What did it look
No, but I
Did it
would.
go to the
This
left?
is even worse because I was like not expecting that I was going to see him peeing. I didn't see anything, but then I was like, I had to pee, so I had to stay there.
You're just like,
And then while I was waiting, I'm like, I'm supposed to be giving out my card. I literally gave my card to like every single person I met at BravoCon.
you could have
So
just
I was
like tucked
do
it
I
in
do
his
this?
back pocket.
In his back
while
pocket.
he's peeing.
Back
Yeah, like while
Yeah.
he's peeing, be like, don't
I
mind
was
me.
on
Excuse me, your hands are busy. I got
And
it.
I was on shrooms, so I just like I made him take my card after he
Yeah.
came out.
Oh my
Be like, "Take
goodness.
this."
I love
No,
that.
I would say for me,
Did I assault him
No, that's not assault.
No.
That's
emotionally?
What I would do would be
Forced
considered
love.
assault, but
that's forced,
Forced
love.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Shocking.
forced love. Forced love. I mean, there's different ways you could put that. I would want to get high with Rinna, Eileen, and Tamra.
Mhm.
that is chaos.
Tamara probably seems like she would be fun. I've really done a 180 on Tamara because I did not like her at all.
Oh,
But since this
really?
last girls trip, I'm like, oh, I like her now. She's fun.
Okay.
Well, I also
Good,
went
I
through a
love
big
that.
gap with the OC. Like the last time I really watched it before this year was back when it was still like Tamara and Gretchen, and I was very much Team Gretchen, so I couldn't stand Tamara because she was so mean to Gretchen.
Okay.
So then I just carried that dislike
Did
through
they?
all those
Okay.
years. But
I
then
thought they
seeing
got
her on
friendship
girls trip again, I'm
bracelets.
like, okay,
They
she's
did,
fun.
but that
Yeah.
didn't last. That was like a very
No.
short-lived
Very short, yeah.
experiment. Yeah.
But I'm
Into
Team
those.
Tamara now, so
okay.
I'm
love
happy
that.
she's coming back. But I heard Vicky's coming back too, and I don't need her back. I'm very good on Vicky.
Just as
I-
a guest or friend of, I think.
Yeah, as a friend of,
We
like,
can microdose Vicky.
yeah, we'll work
Yeah,
something
but
out.
Adriana from Miami is a friend of who, by the way, I can't stand her, and she's on like
Is-
every other episode. Like, what?
Why
she's
is
the-
Marisol a friend of?
She
They
is?
are
Yes.
doing housewives level work for a paycheck, and I
Which
need
is
to
crazy.
understand why.
Marisol
Yeah,
needs to be a housewife.
It
Period. You
just
know
makes them
who-
cast
and this-
members.
An unpopular opinion. You
But
could
maybe
make
that's-
Julia. Julia could be the friend of. Honestly,
I like Julia.
Julia
but
is
I
a
like her
mess
that
right
much.
now.
She doesn't
yeah,
give
her
that
life.
much to
When
really.
she had that raspberry moment, I was like, "Girl, stop just picking up random
No, I
shit at your
love
farm
Julia.
and like rubbing it all over your face."
I like her so
She
much.
does. She
though.
gets eggs and rubs them on her face.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "Yeah, this will work. I'll just rub this on my face.
I got
This is fine. This
cucumber.
pen right here is great. Love
Jenny,
it."
who are
Like,
your people that you would do it with?
I mean, obviously Andy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Andy, yes, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Like,
Yep.
I would
Get all the
smoke
good
with.
info out of him.
I would literally smoke with almost anyone. And at BravoCon, I did pass out a lot of pre-rolls. I won't say exactly who, because who knows if
You
they're
don't want to.
in the
green
green
closet.
closet.
In
Yeah.
a green closet.
But I gave out a lot. I'll just say
Nice.
that. And a lot of people were happy. And a lot
Canna
of people
Fairy.
were like, what is your
you know who
number?
would probably be fun? Lindsay from Summer House. Would
Oh,
probably be
yes.
fun
I
to
gave
do.
her a
She
gift,
needs
not a
to smoke
pre-roll.
weed. She needs to smoke weed.
Robin.
Calm the fuck down.
Robin would be a trip.
I met
Robin
Robin. I
needs it,
gave
but I
her a
wouldn't want to
gift
smoke
too.
with her. I don't think it'd be as fun.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
it would be that fun.
Dr. Contessa would be fun to smoke with. Like there are so many things about her.
Yes.
I just love Dr. Contessa. I feel like
I
she's
and
love
so
Jennifer
Dr.
Aiden.
professional and together, but you can also tell she has like a very
Yes.
like bad girl party side, and I love that about it because it comes out every now
Yeah.
and then. I'm like, she's my type of person.
That's a good one.
Definitely
I
Contessa
do
and
like
Jennifer
Aiden. I love her. I love Jennifer
As long
Aiden
as she's
and
not in a
everything that
spot
she
where
has.
she's like backed
Mad?
up against the wall saying crazy stuff. I like Jennifer as well. I can
Well,
even
I
get
love
past
as
some
long
of
as
her
Melissa-
like
shit.
well, I can even get past some of her like more annoyingly patriarchal comments because I understand that's how she was raised, and like I may not like it, but I'm like, oh, okay. But sometimes she's like, but she's so
Oh.
fun. Like I
I
feel
would
like
smoke
she'd be
with
a fun
Teresa
friend.
too. Teresa and Sonia for sure.
Sonia, yeah. I don't know about
You think
Teresa.
Teresa would be annoying?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think she'd
Teresa
be
already
so
is
funny.
annoying.
Yes.
You know
I
what
would
the problem with
laugh. I would
Teresa
laugh
is?
so hard.
I
Oh,
feel
Whitney
like there's-
Rose.
Whitney Rose would be fun.
No.
The reason
no.
why I wouldn't say
No.
Teresa is I feel like there are so many landmines with Teresa. Like you say something the wrong way, you use the wrong phrase, and then she's angry, and then it's like
No, I
it's
think
just
she's
that would go away.
confused.
That would be lifted and it would just be a good time. It would just be giggles.
if that was the truth, then yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I would,
that's the only way I would accept it.
yeah.
I
think it would
Either
fill
way,
my
I'd
boat.
be like,
Going
I'm
around
out.
going, huh?
Like, God forbid I give her an analogy
See,
while
I
we're
will
high and she
laugh.
hates me forever.
It's
You
like,
know, like,
What did
Am
you
I
say?
tasting air?
I would laugh at that.
She would taste the air. I would tell you. Like that.
Marinella, did you say yours?
Yeah, I said, who did I say? I said Vicky, Dr.
Oh,
Jackie,
yeah.
and Captain Jason.
Yeah,
Oh,
she said that.
just on a very quick aside, because I love all the below decks, and we know our fave, Captain Lee, Stud of the Sea, isn't going to
Yeah.
be there. They're going to bring
Yeah.
in another captain.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're bringing, but I want them to bring in Captain Jason so bad.
Oh, you think they will?
I hope they will.
That'd be cool. I'm down with that. I just hope it's not Malia.
Ugh.
No,
Is she a
there's
captain?
no way. No.
I heard
She's
she's
a
coming
captain
in
now?
as a captain.
She's studying to
Soon.
be a captain, but I
I was gonna say I wouldn't mind
100,000%.
Hannah. I always enjoyed Hannah. I don't care what
Oh,
anyone
Hannah's
says.
a see you next
I love
Tuesday. She can stay in
Hannah
Australia.
and Katie.
Yeah.
Those would both be fun.
Wait, Katie,
Oh,
who?
so Hannah, large aside, you can edit this out, was one of the hosts on the Australian Love
Yeah.
Boat reality
Yeah.
TV show.
I interviewed her.
Cool.
What I'm sorry if she's your friend, but what a dud, because she
I
is
love
on there
her.
with this other fabulous individual. I forgot his name, and he comes out and he's all sassy and he's all wonderful and like making jokes, and she's sitting there like like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've never been a fan of Hannah
Yeah.
ever.
I like
that's
that.
I
another
love her.
That's okay. We can't like everyone,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps it all interesting.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
But you all keep it very
MaryJane.
interesting. Thank you so much for joining me for this topic. It's definitely one of those that's also hard because there is such a stigma around it. And depending on what you're trying to do with your career, especially in like the public space, like I talk a lot about like mental health and social justice things. And so I try to very lightly, mostly my close friend circle, that green circle, gets my talk about this topic. Like I've never really actually openly talked about it in a public space, but you know, it's legal now, and I feel like it's also kind of
It's
hypocritical
changing.
to be like, talk about it so we remove the stigma, but I'm not going to talk about it.
But
Yeah.
I don't know, not me. You're
But
like,
no,
you keep
I'll
doing
talk
it.
about-
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I'll
do
talk
it.
about
You
it
do
all
you
day.
do.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, until it's dealt with on a federal level, that stigma is going to be there, just because there's so many other, like, you know, little hands
It's gonna
involved with it.
stay, yeah. Even if
Yeah.
they pass it federally, there's still gonna be people who remember what it used to be like and still
Right.
try to push that agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still people
hopefully
who
it
are
fades out.
anti-alcohol. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that this has been a great conversation because A, it's fun talking about housewives and Bravo in general. And then B, you guys are so knowledgeable as well. And sometimes I think people forget that there is like science to it and knowing like the different strands, and you can't just be a complete dud and do it well. And, you know, you three are, which is why I reached out to the three of you, because in addition to being super fun on it, you're also very knowledgeable. And I appreciate you bringing and sharing that knowledge with us today.
Thank
Yeah.
you
Thanks
for
for
having
And we
us.
also, and all of us, and if just one last message, we all really have to work on marijuana reform. And in those states where this legislation has passed, we need to release anybody incarcerated
Yeah,
Yes.
on
absolutely.
especially brown
Expungement.
people, Black people, poor
Yes.
people, because
Mhm.
that's who gets targeted more. I mean, no matter what your skin color is, if you are poor, you are in danger.
Yeah.
That
And unfortunately,
brand,
prison
Her
labor
Highness,
is a booming market, so it's
It's
even
yeah,
harder to get that because
slave labor.
yeah,
Let's
because
call
that's
it
really
what
what
it
it is. It's
Prison
slave
labor is
labor.
slave labor. Call it
Mhm.
what it is.
speaking of prison, that Her Highness NYC brand, that gift that I sent to you, they help women who are incarcerated, like, you know, the Last Prisoner Project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never see a woman get released, right? With the
Yeah.
Last Prisoner Project. So she works with an organization that helps women, because a lot of times
Ooh.
you'll have the wife or a girlfriend of somebody who's dealing
Yeah.
drugs who gets arrested, and she gets 15 years for
15 years.
being in the car.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like
These
okay,
women,
Then
I was
it
gonna say the
compounds.
woman who had the friendship with Casey Anthony was in there
Mhm.
because her husband was like hemmed up in some drug thing here, and she took the fall
just-
with him just because she was married to him and had it in the house and shit. she got like, I think it was like 12 years or something, but same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's good to know. And you said it's called Her Highness. So you
Yeah.
can get high
Highness
and get back.
NYC.
As a
Yeah.
Look 'em
user of the products, high quality.
High
Yes,
quality.
so
Love that.
good.
Influencer status. Love that.
Yes,
Chic,
yeah.
chic,
So
Chic,
chic.
so chic.
She's
so
chic.
chic.
It's the
All right, well,
cheapest
thank you
lighter
so much,
I've ever
everybody.
had. It took me
Thank you
15
so
minutes
much,
to figure out how to
Nyemade.
light it, but it's the chicest one.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining. And thank you for those that are watching at home or listening
Mhm.
via podcast. And I hope you all have a great day.
Bye.
Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.